feel like the world title is starting to fall into that like obscurity.
I think John Cena definitely needs to win it. John Cena go over, he gets the 17th win. Jey Uso, he wins the world title.
I feel like the fall of Gunther really started after they took the Imperium stable away. But I think it is time that we saw a refresher, and I think that we need Hydra Cena.
That's the right way to say it.
We need Hydra Cena.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Boyz of Attitude
And Men of Now.
I'm your boy, Mr. Thato D, with my buddy.
Loboberry Crunch. I'm back, and I got my voice back.
It is a wonderful thing.
It is awesome having my voice back.
I know, it's better to have your voice back than that, frog that I heard the other time.
Listen here.
So, we are super excited with where the WWE is going right now, and they have a lot of stuff cooking. I mean, we had an amazing Royal Rumble with the Jey Uso win, Charlotte Flair, which was that's all right.
Let's be real here. We're not all excited about that one.
We had the Elimination Chamber. We had Bianca Belair, which I honestly was not expecting, but I was actually pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
And then we had John Cena, Hail Hydra, come in, and he's going on into into Chamber, into Mania.
That kind of hurt my heart a little
bit. So now we've had this week. We had in wrestling. We had Monday Night Raw. We had Rhea Ripley lost the title. I mean, that was unexpected. I mean, but then again, a lot of people have been speculating that it's going to be a triple threat match with Rhea Ripley, IYO SKY, and Bianca Belair. And
I think that it's cool that they did it, but it was still such a. Did this just happen?
Yeah.
Did mommy just lose her belt?
I know.
What? And I think the other thing too is that we were sitting there and we were watching this. First off, IYO SKY, congratulations on becoming the new Raw Women's Champion, and Rhea Ripley, they tore the house down.
Yeah.
But wow, I did not expect the title change.
I know.
And then we go to SmackDown.
Yeah, on SmackDown we had
another title change.
We had our boy LA Knight, coming in, and he won the United States Championship. And I mean, honestly, I'm going to say this now. I think I've kind of mapped out the method of madness of Triple H and how he does stuff. Usually, you should expect a title change, or you're more likely to expect a title change on a Raw or SmackDown if it's the main event. And let me explain the track record that I have.
Give me that.
Okay.
What's the formula?
So here's the track record. We had obviously we had this week. We had Rhea Ripley. She lost her title. That was the main event. LA Knight lost his. LA Knight gained the title. Main event. Then we got to go back to the tag championships when Motor City Machine Guns won. That was the main event.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me think. I'm trying to think. What else? DIY when they got the titles. That was the main event. So it was like every time you see a major title change, typically it is during the main event.
And here's my take on it too. What I love about this is we are seeing title changes on the weekly shows because, back in the, we'll say the previous owner's era, we don't want to mention his name. But when the previous owner was running things and he was in charge, I mean, title changes on like a main show was like a very rare occasion. Like, I mean, if you go back to maybe the Attitude Era, we saw title changes then, and it was mainly just everyone swapping the world title around. Like the Stone Cold became the champion, The Rock became the champion, Triple H became the champion, The Big Show at one point I think was the champion. But like, then we go into the Ruthless Aggression era and kind of go into like the PG era, or like I guess the Now era, whatever you want to refer to it as, and you didn't really see that. But now it's like, what I like is that they're willing to take the risk and allow titles to actually swap on the main shows, which allows us as fans to want to watch the shows more. Because I won't lie to you, I used to hate watching the shows, knowing we had a main event that was a title like on the line, but like back in your head, you're like, yeah, they're not doing this. They're saving that for like whatever PLE is coming up. They don't care.
Yeah.
And then now we're watching them. We're just like, I actually need to check this. This might actually change.
Actually, and I have to add two more titles that actually exchanged during main events. We had Jey Uso winning the Intercontinental title.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was the main event. Same thing with him losing the Intercontinental title back to Braun Breaker. Then we also had the tag championships with the Judgment Day when they first won, when Liv Morgan helped him get the tag titles, and when they lost the tag titles too. So
it's it's definitely showing that Triple H is not afraid to allow his talents to have opportunities for those belts. And that to me makes me as a fan like want to stay tuned more. Like talk about making sure your product is not only at the height of where it needs to be, but making sure your fans stay interested. Because like I said, like let's go back a couple years between you and me. Because we've been watching wrestling, obviously, Boys of Attitude, Men of Now. We've been watching this for a very, very long time.
Since the Attitude Era.
And hopefully that's all we were gonna say there. But some of us maybe longer than that, but anyway. But yeah, like we go back like let's go back to like 2010, like early days, the Shield, everything like that. We didn't see title changes that often on a main show, and when we did, it was a very, very rare occasion. But like, I can't lie to you. I barely wanted. I only wanted to tune in if it was somebody that I cared about. But like, I would just straight up like not watch the match if I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, okay, cool. So the Intercontinental title's on the line, which
Right.
is my favorite belt right here, and I would just not care unless like it was like Dolph Ziggler was involved,
Right.
Or Nick Nemeth as he's referred to now.
Nick Nemeth, yeah.
But like when he was usually involved in the title picture, I was always like, yeah, I want to watch it because he is entertaining. But then if it was like, Dean Ambrose, now known as John Moxley, versus like, I don't know, throw a name out there, Akira Tozawa, no disrespect to Akira Tozawa, but like between that, I'm like, I mean, I could watch it, but then at the same time, I'm like, but I know the belt's not changing.
Right.
Now, if you would have said like Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins, or Dean Ambrose versus John Cena returning, or Sheamus, like one of their like mainly main event guys, then you would kind of go, okay, cool, maybe I might want to watch it because there's a chance. And then we'd end up getting like some shenanigans of disqualifications or like some slight cheating, and that's a one thing I want to give to at some point when we're talking is that I love the fact there are less shenanigans during title matches than there were back then.
Yeah.
Like a title match actually plays out.
Yeah.
And I like that.
And I think that's what's important too is that a lot of the title matches, still sticking with the whole like how I've figured out their method is that they don't want you to assume that, oh, just because the title's on the show, it's not going to get exchanged. It's like, and now it puts a lot more pressure on that main event slot.
Exactly.
Like, you know that something's going to be a main event, so you're like, oh, is the title going to change? Could it change or could it not? Because I mean, granted, just because the title is going to be on the main event does not mean it's going to get changed. But now there's that extra spice, like, oh wait, I do remember a couple times the title did change at main event. Oh, could this actually happen? And it makes you tune in and makes you want to actually stay a part of the show.
Absolutely. You're oh, no, I didn't lose my voice.
Is the frog back again?
No. But like you bring up a very, very good point, and I appreciate that, is the fact that, it's like we've seen it happen before, and that intrigue stays. We want to find out what is happening. We want to see that match. And the other thing too is that also like, compared to back then to now, like obviously the match quality is obviously straight up crazy. It's so good.
Super crazy.
And, despite I said that earlier, like, yeah, like shenanigans, what I mean by that is like the shenanigans don't end the match result.
Right.
Like they're not like, oh man, like for example, let's take LA Knight's match. LA Knight's match with Shinsuke. We already know that obviously, and this is no disrespect to Shinsuke Nakamura in any way, but unfortunately he hasn't had the greatest title run recently with that US title. He's only had like 2 title defenses recently, and one of them was literally against LA Knight again. So, that it felt like he really wasn't doing anything with it. So, I was kind of expecting, again, this is just the PTSD of being involved with the previous management. As soon as Shinsuke spat out the mist and hit the ref, I was expecting bell called. That's it. Match is over. It's over.
Something or
nope.
Or Shinsuke had like a secret person that was going to come out and help him
retain
the title or something. But no, that didn't happen.
That's what intrigued me too, because I was sitting there like, wait a minute, what the bell hasn't rung. The bell hasn't rung. The match is still going. And then we got the chair shot, and then we, LA Knight hit him with the BFT right onto the chair, and another ref came out to count. And I was like, the ref's not calling for the bell. He actually counted. And as soon as I heard the 1, 2, 3, Dude, I was in my room and I was jumping up and down. I scared the crap out of my roommate upstairs because he was like, "What are we celebrating?" I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I got excited, and but that's the fun of being a fan because it's like now you're like, "Oh my god, dude, I am so invested more in these matches now.
Yeah.
These matches that I could have thought were throwaway matches, and this is what they need to do for the mid card titles because these titles need some kind of oomph. They need some more love going on."
Yeah.
And we've seen almost every mid card title this week was defended. I think, right?
Yeah. They
We
had
have the tag titles.
the women's IC title was defended. You know,
Yep.
Lyra retained. They had the Raw Tag Championships that was defended, and then we had the women's US title defended.
Yep.
So, and then the men's US title. So, you know, yeah.
So the only ones were
Oh,
like what?
And then if if we want to throw in a little mix into there with the NXT, the NXT North American Championship exchange hands too.
Yeah, that's true. And next week we have the SmackDown tag titles on the line right now. Street Profits are finally getting in, and I think that I like the fact that we're seeing all these titles being defended, and then we don't have to wait till main shows. I understand that we're not probably going to see the world titles usually defended on these shows. I
Yeah.
get that. I do wish the world champions were more prominent on the shows. I give Cody Rhodes; he is the exception.
Yeah, Cody Rhodes.
I know that last few weeks he has not had a match all the time, but I'm sorry, a lot of you Cody haters are going to hate me for saying all this, but give the man a break. He's actually been fighting, defending, and getting challenged by like pretty much almost everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I love like when he fought like Carmelo Hayes like twice, and both of them had like that was a 5-star matches right there. Carmelo Hayes is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I love him.
I think Carmelo Hayes is definitely one of the most underestimated superstars that came out of NXT. I mean, what's it called? Mellow Don't Miz is like so freaking hilarious. I love that whole thing. But definitely, I mean, Carmelo has it, and him and Cody worked dynamic together. I mean, I thought they were phenomenal, and then I think he's definitely a contender for the world title in the future. I just hope Philly they can direct his career in the right direction to, what I mean.
I think that right now he's just in that weird space of like there's so many good stories going on. We can't squeeze you in right yet. But once I feel like we get that reset button after Mania, I definitely see Melo either winning a mid card title or at least winning getting some shine into the main event picture for the world title. One of them, whatever one it may be. But yeah, going back to champions, yeah, like we were seeing the champions actually doing their own thing. The only one I feel like, and I mean, we've discussed this plenty of times, is that we feel like he's had like a super lackluster run is Gunther.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that sucks because I loved Gunther.
Gunther, I honestly, Gunther, the ring general, he's a great wrestler. I think he has presence and everything. I think what happened is that they wrote him into a corner where he was too strong, he was too dominant, and what happened is that it becomes too tough to find a person or people to really complement that. Now, don't get me wrong. I think right now the Jey Uso story, what they're doing with it is that Jey Uso has tried to defeat this dominant force. So I think they are getting there with this, but the in-between for his storylines, I mean, he really only did like 2 PLEs and maybe a Saturday Night Main Event,
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where Gunther was a defending champion on like almost like every episode, of like whenever he was featured, whether he was defending the title or just taking on an opponent. Now personally, and this is just my opinion, I feel like the fall of Gunther really started after they took the Imperium stable away.
Mhm.
I feel like when he had Kaiser come out, and I love Kaiser when he announces for him that like, I demand all your gratitude. I love his ability to be his man, to call him out for that. I love the fact that you feel like he's like more important because as soon as like I mean I feel like that with anybody. Once you have a manager that comes out and he's calling you, he's like saying your name. You get that he goes into the ring and he takes the microphone from the announcer to announce for him. I always feel like that brings that presence, that like aura, like you said. And Gunther had it all, but the moment I feel like Imperium kind of fell apart, they took
took Vinci out.
Yeah, they took him out, which I mean, I felt like he just fell hard on his face even further from that. I don't think he was never going to recover. And then I mean, I know right now, good for Kaiser. Kaiser's definitely finding his own way.
Yeah,
but I feel like when they separated them, I feel like that actually Kaiser went up, Gunther I felt like went down.
I can agree with that.
And it makes me sad because I was like, dude, I liked Gunther, and I agree with you. I feel like they wrote him into a corner, and I feel like as a world champion standing on the top of the mountain, he's just by himself, but like by himself in a way of like you kind of forget him.
Yeah.
Because I can't lie to you, there are some times when I watch the show and I'm like, oh yeah, Raw's supposed to have a world champion. Where is he? And I feel like that's a big problem. And as fans, we've talked about this for years, where if a champion is not present on the show,
yeah,
you just diminishes that belt even more. Like, Lesnar when he was around and he would win the title and he'd just be gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that. I think, and isn't that the kind of the formula for like a heel champion? Like the heel champion is only there every once in a while the baby faces are the ones that show up. And I think it's modeled after John Cena, where John Cena, when he was babyface champion, this is the first time we might see him as a heel champion, but during him babyface champion, he'd
Chain Gang.
Chain Gang?
Yeah, never know. He was a US champion.
He was US champion. Okay.
He was still a heel.
He was still heel on that. Forgot about that.
We just liked him a lot.
Yeah.
We just liked him a lot. We liked the bad guy at that point.
Word, like I'm a bad man.
Right? So just to touch on this real quick, I sort of agree with you.
Okay.
And the only reason I say I sort of agree with you was because we have seen heel champions still show up. We've seen champions that are like the bad guy, essentially, still show up on the shows. Whether they're competing in a match or not, it's the presence of them still being there was necessary. Whether they defended the title or not, that didn't matter. But I mean, look at Rollins, for example. Rollins was, when he was champion, he was still fighting almost like every night. That's the one thing I'll give Rollins. And whenever he had a belt in his hand, or even without a belt in his hand, whether he was heel, face, in between, whatever, he was always on the show. And we've seen other examples of like, per se, heel people that were still on the show, still fighting people, talking smack. Look at Roman. Roman for the entirety of almost of his, I want to say it wasn't until like the end of like going into the end of his reign that he was still present on every show on SmackDown. He was still there.
Yeah.
And he was still like, whether he was competing or not, he was just there. And that's all you really needed.
Right.
He'd come out, he'd run his mouth about whatever it was, about beating somebody up. Talk about how he's in God mode. We acknowledge our tribal chief. We acknowledge our tribal chief on the show still. But the fact of the matter is, like, he was still there.
Yeah.
And you felt him. But here's the thing, though. I think what gives those heels the presence that they need as champions is kind of a faction.
Yeah.
Because the bloodline. Listen, man. You. As soon as they came out, like whether you liked them or not, you put the one up. And like I say, even when Imperium came out, he had the presence because of Imperium. He had his people follow him. Right now, he's the world champion, and who's following him?
I know. It's disappointing, But I mean, actually, you do put up some great points with that. With the having a good stable, it definitely keeps a heel champion a lot stronger versus a babyface can manage without having a stable and stuff. But if a babyface is in a good stable, then that obviously helps out too. Like for instance, like Big E with the New Day, that was always good. What other good?
Kofi was also good with that.
Kofi, and such. So definitely heels definitely shine more with a good stable. And speaking of that, let's shift over to our girl Chelsea Green.
Chelsea Green.
So Chelsea now has expanded her stable. She now has Alba Fire, right?
Alba Fire, yeah.
Yeah, Alba Fire. So Alba Fire is now with Chelsea Green, and she's part of her Secret Service. What's the term they called it again? Her service or something like that?
But it's escaping right now. I know what you're talking about, but hey, did you know that Chelsea Green is the longest reigning United States Women's Champion of all time?
Did you also know that she's the inaugural?
Did you know that she also has had more title defenses than any other woman with the United States Women's Championship?
And then did you know that she's the most amazing, astounding, and incredible United States Women's Champion ever?
Did you also know that she's the only Canadian-born United States Women's Champion?
Did you also know that she is married to a former United States champion?
Did you also know that she had more birthdays with that title than any other woman in you can kind of tell that we love Chelsea Green on this show.
We love you,
man.
Chelsea.
We love you, Chelsea. Come join us one day. Come join us. Let's get you in here. Please. We love you. We'll join you. We'll be your Secret Service, man.
Right?
You know, listen. I will follow Chelsea Green into the trenches. You know,
he'll be a Secret Service bag boy.
As long as I get to, as long as Matt Cardona doesn't show up and just beat me up.
Yeah. You can be double duty. You could be Matt Cardona's assistant, and then every once in a while help out Chelsea with her bags or something.
If that job is on the table, I will send my resume.
Matt Cardona.
Oh man, but yeah, going into man, she's been having a good year.
She's been having a great run. When she won the title, I was super excited, and I love it because I felt that she was one of those women that was in there and wasn't getting, like, she was getting the TV time. She was getting the TV shine, but she wasn't getting that title recognition shine.
Definitely not.
And that's when they were doing the whole tournament the entire time from the beginning. I was like, Chelsea needs this. Like, honest, I mean, the only other person was Mi Chin. I mean, I like Mi Chin. I think Mi Chin's very talented, but I was like, I felt that if you want to bring prestige, especially to the first women's mid-card championship on the main roster,
put a Canadian in.
You need somebody like Chelsea, and Chelsea, she has the mouth, she has the wrestling talent and all that. So
I follow Chelsea, obviously, like, way out of her time in WWE.
Yeah,
you know, I've seen her time. You know, man, one of my favorite matches of watching her when she wrestled Penta.
Yeah,
you know, Lucha Underground. I mean, if you want to see a match with Chelsea Green, oh my goodness, go on YouTube if you can. And I'm sure it's somewhere out there. Somebody shared it. I shared it plenty of times. Look up her match with Penta in Lucha Underground. Oh my goodness, you will see a different side to both of those characters.
Yeah,
and you will see Chelsea is not just the sweet, like, little, like, oh, you know, shh, you know, all that. She's kicking behind the craziness of that. You know, we had he was doing the Mexican destroyer, she was doing the Canadian destroyer.
Right,
like, it was crazy. Yeah, man, she's so good. She's so good. And it's funny because when we discussed this off air before, where we were thinking that she might actually turn face because the fans were behind her. And normally what we usually see is when the fans start getting behind somebody like that, they kind of feel like they have to change sides. But Chelsea, and this is an example of, again, a great heel that has, I would say, presence, is that she had Piper by her side as her Secret Service, but still before that, she was her bodyguard. And she is so good at playing the bad guy that people just love it.
Yeah.
Like, she's still a heel, and through all her shenanigans, you still love her.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Mi Chin. I know she's gotten, like, the short end of the stick multiple times. I am sure there is definitely a title reign coming to her at some point.
Yeah.
But this is Chelsea's year.
Yeah.
And she needs to go all the way.
Yeah. I think she needs to go all the way. She needs to go past WrestleMania all the way to SummerSlam, at least with the title all the way till then. Then she can lose it. And then it can go to Mi Chin. I mean, it can go to any one of those girls that's in the SmackDown roster to really help elevate and push them along. Now let's jump on to the other side. We talked about the United States Championship. Let's talk about our IC Championship with Lyra Valkyria. I mean, Lyra, she may not have the charisma that Chelsea Green has, in my opinion. You know, other people may have different opinions. That's just my personal opinion. I think Lyra is a better wrestler, and I think that she actually outperforms Chelsea when it comes to mat work and everything else like that. But Chelsea definitely has the microphone between the two of them. So I don't know, what's your take?
I agree with that. I am 100% on that. I think that, I mean, if you followed her in NXT, which I saw a couple of her matches in NXT, and that was all. I was one of the, you know, the ones that did the hand of things with her. I did. I loved it. I think that the issue she had was that she had a very good hit the round running start. You know, she had some really good matches. She had, like, the support with Becky also, because they're both Irish, you know, women, you know, gunning for, like, title wins and obviously, like, main events and stuff. And I think that her getting the support that she got from Becky also helps, because let's be real here, we know, like, I love Becky Lynch. She's one of my all-time favorite female wrestlers. I met her, obviously, you know, that's a story for another day. But I will tell you, she's probably one of the greatest women that I have ever seen actually grace that mat. And I think that we also know that sometimes the time is going to come eventually where she is not going to want to return to the ring. She's just going to feel like she's accomplished everything she needs to do, and she's going to say, you know what, I'm done. I can walk away now.
Yeah.
My name is going to forever be etched in greatness in WWE. I want to help another Irish-born woman wrestler get up there, and I feel like Lyra is definitely a good candidate for that. Her in-ring ability is amazing. Her professionalism, especially in the ring with mishaps. We saw that mishap with the Rumble where her gear kind of messed up.
Yeah.
We've seen it plenty over the times in the years that sometimes people don't recover from stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But she was able to, pick that up and fix. Fell out. They fixed it, and she just got back in, and she was just still.
Yeah.
She was still doing fantastic. Her matches are always top notch, especially these matches with her and Dakota Kai. I can't lie, man. I love Dakota Kai too. I think she's also a very underused wrestler, and I think that she definitely deserves a win, with the title at some point. But her and just watching their matches were amazing. And that, like you said, that presence, that power, the technique, everything about it. She is a phenomenal wrestler all around.
Yeah.
I would love to see her featured more. And I think that's what she needs. I think she just needs to be featured more. I think we need more, whether it be interviews or backstage segments or something like that. I feel like that would help her more because most of the time when she comes out, she's just announced for a match.
Right.
We don't see a backstage segment, and that I feel like you need to do something about that. That's your champion.
Yeah.
You need to get your champion in front of that camera more. Let her talk her smack, you can be a baby face, but you can run your mouth a little bit. I'm the best Irish woman, champion, blah, blah. Take some cues out of Chelsea's book, You don't have to be like, oh, I'm the longest reigning, blah, blah, like all that other stuff like that. But, talk your smack. You are the inaugural IC champion for the women's division. You were the one that defeated so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so to get up there, get that belt, and that no one has been able to take it from you yet. We need to see more of that. I want to see more of that because I want to see Lyra, I know it's going to be corny to say, but I want to see Lyra fly.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's definitely going to be someone who's going to be a great contender probably the next year or so in the main title for one of the world titles and everything. I mean, her buddy from NXT, Tiffany Stratton, she got propelled up into the world title picture. So we have Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair, which is the confirmed match for those two. And Tiffany Stratton, honestly, is really great. I mean, I met her once when they were in Philly for WrestleMania last year. So she was awesome to meet, really cool. I mean, one thing my wife had a chance to connect with her on is that my wife did gymnastics too. So they were able to chit chat just for a little bit about some gymnastic stuff and everything. So she's pretty down to earth, obviously she has that Barbie doll, oh, I'm this pretty face and stuff. But I'll tell you straight up from my own personal experience of meeting Tiffany Stratton, she is actually a really cool person, and I'm so happy that she's getting this title run. I do not want Charlotte Flair to win. I want Tiffany Stratton to beat her. I want Charlotte to let Tiffy go over and Tiffy continue her reign. So that way you're building more superstars. Charlotte Flair already has 14 title reigns. She does not need it right now. She does not need a 15th right now. I think the focus should be, if we're going to be having anybody's going to be continuing to push that multiple title reigns thing, is the John Cena story.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't combine the Charlotte Flair getting close to that story. It should be Charlotte Flair goes in there because, she was gone and she's top girl or whatever and stuff. But we should have it as John Cena is the main focus for the person who's trying to have the most title reigns.
I agree.
Versus Charlotte Flair getting in there. And I like I said, no disrespect to Charlotte. I respect her work. I think she's talented. I mean, great on the mic. She's great in the ring. She's one of the best out there and stuff. But I think it's time for her to really help younger talent get over, because I mean, she tore up her ACL, her MCL. She really messed up her stuff and everything. So how much longer time does she have? She should also think, okay, what can I do to help the future get further? So that way, in case, maybe my reign won't be as long as I would think it is, be part of the contributing factor to that,
I full-heartedly agree with everything you said. I feel like, and I know I'm for years I've been talking to you, and obviously I'm very critical about Charlotte, and it's gonna sound mean. it's gonna sound mean. I'm sorry. It's gonna sound mean, but I really wish Charlotte would just not. I wish she hadn't come back. And the only reason I say that, or at least not come back now, I feel like, when you have somebody like her, who's like she's accomplished everything. What else is there left for her to do? Except them break her daddy's record at this point. That's literally all it is. And it's the one thing that annoys fans because I know there are Charlotte fans out there, and I know that there are people that are very critical against her. I've always tried to stay in the middle of it, but me being, me, I gotta say it, like I'm not a fan of a lot of her ring work. I mean, her microphone work to me is usually like very hit or miss, and I feel like there's more misses than there are hits. She sounds so stagnant on it. And then the other thing too is that she's always involved in a title picture in some shape or form. And it's funny because one of my buddies that I talked to about wrestling, we discussed it too, where we said, when was the last time you remember Charlotte Flair qualifying for a number one contenders match? Like, think about it right now. Can you picture within the last 4 years, what was your one time that you can remember that you saw Charlotte Flair competing for a number one contender spot?
Well, technically the Royal Rumble.
Well, let's not. I'm talking. Let's not count the Rumble at this point. Let's count. I'm talking like a match.
Yeah.
We've seen the tournaments. We've seen blah blah blah. How many times have you seen Charlotte Flair within the last few years that you can remember competing in a number one contenders match for the women's title?
I mean, off the top of my head, I'm gonna say no. I don't have any memory of that at the moment.
Exactly, and that's the problem, because usually when she pops up, she just immediately calls her shot. She immediately just goes like, "I'll see you in the ring, and bring that belt." Yeah. And then next thing we get to know, Charlotte Flair involved in a women's title match later on tonight in the main event. And it's like, but she didn't do anything. She just kind of showed up at this point. Now, very early on in her career, a lot of those title wins came from her and Sasha Banks, going back and forth, now known as Mercedes Moné. But, it was like 5 of those wins were from her taking the belt from, Banks. On a Raw, Sasha would win it on Raw, and then Charlotte would win it back at the PLE following, and then Sasha would win it back on the Raw, and then she would get it back in there. And it's like that hot potato with the belt with her, it just got old and stale. And I don't feel like she builds a lot of the younger talent like she should. Now, you can argue the same thing. I've heard people try to argue and say Becky does the same thing. I disagree. I think that Becky builds more talent than she breaks them. I've seen her take losses that I was just like, oh my goodness, she actually lost.
Yeah.
Look at this past WrestleMania. It was on record right now, because we don't know what's going to happen this year, but on record, last year was probably one of the biggest attendances for WrestleMania. It had probably some of the biggest card matches out there.
Yeah.
We thought that there was a chance that Becky was going to take the belt off of Rhea.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
And she didn't. Rhea went over, and I was really shocked because I thought this was going to be Becky's time, and I was like, okay, Becky's going to get that one title win from this, and then maybe in a couple weeks or so she might drop it, but she didn't. She actually let Rhea, the younger talent, the one that obviously she sees as the one that people are building, and now look, Rhea can take that and says that she's beaten 2 of I don't know, she beat Charlotte before.
Yeah,
she's beaten Charlotte. I think she's beaten Bayley.
Yeah,
and she's beaten Becky, so she's beaten 3 of the 4 horsewomen.
Yeah,
of NXT, and that's awesome. I mean, obviously
the original horsewoman. Yeah,
original. Sorry, excuse me.
Oh,
I'm fine. I'm just thirsty, but yeah,
thirsty for them women.
Well, we're talking about Rhea Ripley, so mommy. But anyway, but yeah, I want to see Charlotte let Tiffy go over, please. Tiffy's I was not a fan of Tiffy when she first started, and you guys were so on the Tiffy time thing. I was not. And I've said this before on this podcast, on the last time we talked, I was usually not a fan of the pretty girl, Barbie doll type girls, because I always felt like they're not really that entertaining. It's a tiresome trope that's been done over and over. And I shut my mouth when it came to Tiffy. The more I watched her compete, the more I liked her.
Yeah.
The more I found myself even doing, it's Tiffy time. I couldn't help it. I was like, oh man, I'm in this. She's won me over. She was in Philly for SmackDown, and I was trying everything I could to go down and see her with my son.
Yeah.
But we didn't make it. I really want to see Tiffy win at Mania. She deserves it. She's had a hell of a year, a great run. I feel like if she loses to Charlotte, I don't know. I don't know how quickly she'll be able to recover.
Yeah, it'll be really tough for her to recover. I mean, we'll definitely dive some more. I want to talk about we talked about Gunther. Go back to Gunther a little bit. Was to talk about with Jey Uso and the whole title picture with that. I really looking forward to them really building. I think Jey Uso is going to go over. I'm going to call it now.
He has to.
I feel like Jey Uso is going to go over. The crowd is 110% behind Jey Uso. Yeah, we have the internet wrestling community that's like, oh, Jey Uso, he can only do a super kick and blah 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 and stuff. But like, dude, like, go to a show.
Go to a show.
I've been to shows, and it's just like, holy cow! Like,
we were both in the crowd for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And we were yeeting.
Crazy.
We were yeeting. Like, my arms were so tired. My son was next to me, and I'm, it's just me. I'm like, my arms hurt worse than when I do arms and shoulders at the gym.
Yeah.
Like, I was exhausting I did not care. Like, you have not experienced a Jey Uso yeet wave unless you are at a show.
Yeah.
The man is more over than anybody, I think, in this company.
Yeah, and I think that on the other side of the playing field, we have the John Cena and Cody Rhodes. That I think John Cena definitely needs to win it. John Cena go over, he gets the 17th win. Jey Uso, he wins the world title. So then that way you still keep that balance. You have Jey Uso as the babyface world champion, and then you have heel Cena, Hail Hydra as the heel champion. I'm gonna keep saying that. That's my thing. I love it so much. John Cena to me, Hail Hydra every single time. So
it is the most accurate, like, representation of the character. Like, I can't deny it. You are 100% on point, my man. But it is just so funny to keep hearing, because it's just weird to know it's real.
Yeah,
it's weird to know that it's real. We watched this man for so many years talk about how he never was going to turn. The most heel turn we got was when he was in the ring. He was like, "You want a little heel turn?" He just turned his heel in the middle, trolling everybody, and he swore he was not going to do it. And we witnessed it.
Yep.
And my son cried so hard. He cried more for Cody being beat up, but more than John Cena. My inner child cried for Cena, but my son was crying because he was beating Cody Rhodes up.
Right.
It's not a WrestleMania without Cody Rhodes getting beat up.
I mean, and then so we have that dynamic. So I think Gunther is definitely done his thing. He did continue the prestige of the world title. Damian Priest was champion before him, and then he took it. He kept it going. With that prestige, and then now we have Cody Rhodes, who stayed champion from last WrestleMania, going on to this WrestleMania, and then we have heel Cena. So I think the WrestleMania picture is looking pretty good right now, And then obviously we have our speculations for other stuff, but we can save that for our next podcast.
I think that definitely, we'll definitely save that for next time. But I think that you're 100% right. I think that the biggest thing right now is these titles need fresh faces.
Yeah,
these titles need fresh faces, definitely. I feel like the world title is starting to fall into that, like, obscurity. It needs Jey Uso.
Yeah.
That world title needs Jey Uso.
Yeah.
And I think that Cody has done a phenomenal job as champion. I liked Cody as champion. I was a Cody crybaby.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny that. I was 100% a Cody crybaby, and I loved it. And I think that he has done a great job as champion. I think that he has made his mark on that belt. But I think it is time that we saw a refresher, and I think that we need heel Cena. I'm sorry, Hydra Cena.
That's the right way to say it.
We need Hydra Cena, in that belt, and in that position. And I think that the balance will be there. It's going to be a great WrestleMania season. If you have not already caught up on everything, obviously tune in with us. We'll definitely keep you guys up to date as much as possible. But definitely, if you are not watching Raw and SmackDown right now, this is the time to do it. The road to WrestleMania, we are literally speeding ahead right now.
Yeah.
Papa H, and he is cooking.
Yeah.
Cooking, Gordon Ramsay style, cooking in that kitchen.
Yeah.
And I am ready for whatever he's ready to serve up.
I'm loving it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this exciting episode of Boyz of Attitude.
And Men of Now.
I'm your host, and with my buddy co-host, Mr. Thato D.
I am Loboberry Crunch, and also make sure to follow us on the socials. Everything should be down below now.
Yep, check out the description. Boyz of Now, Men of Attitude. We're on Instagram. We are on TikTok. We are on Facebook. So check us out.
All right, you guys have a great one.
Peace.